that time, I had no hopes on winning because I had very less support. But over time, that support just kept on increasing. A lot of people came forward and helped me. People that I did not know also came and helped me out. So in that way, yeah, that just kept me motivated to go on and not step down or step back. Yeah, so that's how I ended up being Gen Sec. Luckily, I won by 23 votes. It's pretty less, but I just won, so it's pretty awesome.
But you won. So how did you feel when you found out that you won?
I was I was in a restaurant. I went on a trip that day, and I was with my parents. I was sitting having dinner at a restaurant, and all of a sudden, a lot of calls started coming. I was like, shit, we lost. I was super scared. I was like, ah. And then after like little hesitation, I picked up the phone and they're like, congratulations. And like, why? Like, you won. I'm like, what? Like, you won. I just ran off from the restaurant, left my dinner midway, and I called the rest of the people. And I think my mom and dad were like, let's parcel all this stuff, we'll go back home and we'll eat. So, yeah, I did not have dinner at that time. I was super excited.
Super happy.
And then there's still part of me which was scared because, yeah, I mentioned a huge manifesto, and that manifesto needs to be done. And I
Yes.
have no clue on how to do it. So it was pretty scary. But I was like, screw that. This is the day. Let me enjoy for once. Tomorrow I can be scared. That's how it happened.
And what is the hardest part of being a general secretary?
Okay, the hardest part of being a general secretary is that uh, actually, general secretary is at equal power with all the other secretaries, but the college and the administration sees that general secretary has more power than all the other secretaries, and then you're pressurized into all the issues that come. So even if it's not within your um, purview, you need to handle all the issues that come, be it academic, be it hostel issues, be it sports issues, or maybe alumni issues. Alumni issues is the only thing that I did not touch because I was, yeah. And yeah, visa related issues, every issues that come, you need to handle it, even though it does not come under you because you're obliged to do it and because people are counting on you to do it. And if something goes wrong or if something is not done properly by the SAC or the other EC members, it usually comes on to you as the like you're the one who takes the most responsibility of whatever happens in the SAC or the SAC EC. And since a lot of people do not know the difference between SAC and SAC EC, and they just know General Secretary, whatever shortcomings of SAC happens, it is always blamed on the General Secretary. And yeah, and General Secretary is always the point of contact for all of the faculties. So whenever there is a dispute or whenever there's an issue, they first contact the General Secretary or the Joint Secretary, and then they go through it. So in case of responsibility, it's a little harder. But since you can mingle with a lot of other issues, it's kind of more fun. So if you like, it's my kind of fun, not your kind of fun, but it was fun.
Like, have you ever feel pressured? Like, like you felt
Oh,
pressure.
pressure. Oh yeah, yeah. I felt a huge pressure during the CGP conversion thing. Mainly because after we conducted a huge GSB meeting and everyone was pumped up, and we knew that if it does not happen this year, all the students will just come to my home and kill me. So that was the idea that I had in my mind, and I was so pressurized. I was like, shit, I have to do it. No matter what happens, I have to get it done, or someone has to get it done. And then because the thing was that all the other people were against it, and I was like, let's just do it, try it, and yeah. But like all the other SACEC members helped me a lot. and all the other members from SAC and not from SAC, GSP, a lot of people helped. And through a lot of pushing, I think we won. And like we got that CGPA thing. But there was a huge pressure on both the SAC EC members and me because we started that. And if it failed, it will not go good for us, obviously. So that kind of pressure was there. And there was another pressure relating to the PG's issue where they were asked to come to campus and they would just keep on forcing it even though the COVID was rising. So all the PG were like, SAC is not working properly, SAC is this, SAC is that. And then, yeah, there was huge pressure from their side as well. But that got solved eventually, so it was fine.
Are there any questions from the audience? Like, you guys can either unmute yourself and ask or put that in the chat box.
I wanted to ask a question on
Yeah,
the
go on, Sukash.
linguistic biases. Like you mentioned linguistic biases, but what exactly do you mean by that? Because me being a B20, I've probably never experienced this, but I
Okay.
would like to know what you meant by that.
See, linguistic biasness, I think, happens. It actually starts like on campus when ragging happens. So it's an unwritten rule again, which is Malayali should only rag a Malayali, and a Northi should only rag a Northi, and a Telugu should only rag a Telugu guy. So when that happens, the connections between them just keep on increasing, and there's no mingling between all the linguistic groups. So Telugu people do not talk much to the Malu people, or the Malu people talk to Hindi people, or like that. So they don't talk mingle with themselves. And Malayalis being a majority in campus usually tend to have a lot of control on all the events that happen on campus, and all the clubs all the club works, and all the basically whatever decisions made by the student community, it usually lies in the hands of the Malayali groups. So for Tatva and Ragam, whoever was chosen as the Tattva convener and all those people were not in not a decision that was made by entire GSB, but by the core Malayali people. So stuff like that happens. So when that happens, the entire community was supposed to make a decision, but ends up like the only certain groups being making it, and the other group biased, their opinions did not matter, kind of thing. So when that happens, there's a lot of issues, and they're like, it's like a cold war between all the linguistic groups. And when that finally reaches a point or it peaks, it ends up in fights. So we had a couple of fights in Ragam and a couple of fights in Tatva. So we have a lot of fights like that. So yeah, even in your ear, I feel like there are times where Malayalis only interact a lot with Malayalis and less with the other language groups. And there are people who want Malayalis to win some elections, maybe, rather than the person who is more good. So that biasness comes, it's not a biasness that comes because a person is bad or what. It's just because we are trained that way and we just end up liking people that we can call our own. So it happens even if you try to stop it, even if the entire community becomes very mingling, the small amount of biasness is gonna be there even in the following years. It'll take a lot of time for it to die down. So that biasness is gonna continue. And the people with the majority will obviously have a higher say and stronger power than the minority communities.
Yeah, I think that answers my question. Thanks.
So there are no other ways like to stop this linguistic bias. If
See,
you think this happens, it
yeah,
goes on.
I was bought on I became a general secretary to stop this biasness. That was the main motive. But then through time I realized that it's not gonna stop even if the entire community starts mingling with people, because there is certain feelings associated with people that you can call your own, and it's not a feeling that you choose to have. It's just it is there. It's gonna be there for everyone, and when you see a person that is similar to you, you will obviously want you will have a slight bias towards it. So a person who speaks Malayalam will appeal a Malayali more than other people. And it takes a lot of effort for that biasness to go away. A person must strive from himself for that biasness to go away, and that usually is really hard to do. And that cannot happen on a community basis. On a like, it will take a long time for it to happen. That has to go. That depends on the parenting. That depends on the society as well and all. So that will take a lot of time to change, and it's gonna stay. But what I feel is that if the communities are equal in number, suppose there are all the communities are equal in number, there won't be any minority or majority that is there. And if that happens, then there is less chance for people to make biased decisions, or the outcome of a decision or a event or something that is supposed to be taken by the GSB to be biased, because there are all communities in equal number.
Like, so
Yeah.
initially, what sort of solutions did you think of this problem? And if they, like,
Yeah.
you're telling me that it didn't work out, right? So in that
Yeah.
event, like the solution didn't work out, what did you do?
I was planning to increase the unwritten rules in posts. So the major point was that the representation of each group was less in the SAC elections and SAC EC, where the people felt that there is not enough Northeast, and the issues of Northeast were not properly raised. And then issues of in Ragam, it's always Malayalis who are the treasurers and who is the Malayalis who take care of it. So we thought maybe including all the other groups as well as a rule or kind of thing, or maybe introducing more unwritten rules through interim SAC, just to help people get more, like, help people feel easy to get into SAC. Interim SAC is help, like getting into interim SAC helps get into EC easier. So through that, I thought, and then PG people, that PG biasness was reduced through including them into clubs. So a couple of other things, very small stuff. But what happened was that even though we did all of that, it did not really decrease the biasness much. I think the only least bias is gonna be the B20 batch, I guess, because they were having online sessions and the ragging was not there much. So they will have least amount of biasness, but yeah, it's gonna be there. And I realized that even though you do whatever you want, it is still gonna be there. So you just have to accept it or bring some unwritten rules so that the people can, I don't know, maybe represent each minority group better.
So are you satisfied with your work? With everything
Yeah,
what you've done?
that's a painful question. Yeah. um, I'm satisfied with what I've done, but there are certain things that if I had a little more time, I could have done it, kind of thing. So yeah, lot of issues like the LH issues, the curfew issues, the on-campus facilities issues, and stuff like that. If I had a little more time and if I put more effort into researching on how the budgeting happens for the like budgeting happens on campus, so I could maybe figure out how to make the campus way more better, how to get people more academically stronger. But all of my efforts were going to wasted on solving issues that were rising because of online academics. There were a lot of issues because of a new thing, and issues keep on rising: offline labs, offline classes, then on-campus projects, lab facilities, sports facilities, and then you have academic issues that was rising because of online classes. So when you have all of that, it was a little hard to focus on the what is it demands rather than problem solving. So it was more of damage control than something beautification or something. Yeah.
So let's move on to some fact related questions now. Like there are still many people, especially B20, who are not aware of SAC, its working and importance. Like how would you explain it to all of them? People like me basically.
Okay. So that is so we tried a lot more. The SAC EC like last year tried to mingle with a lot of P20s so that they can know what is happening, what is SAC and all. And there was this orientation time where SAC was introduced. That was a good thing because of that, a lot of B20s came to know that this thing called SAC. I did not know in my first year or in my second year. Towards the end of it, I was like, oh, this thing called SAC. So yeah, what we can do is you can have websites or seminars like this, webinars like this, or something like that for people to know what happens. So basically, the SAC is divided is a constitution of SAC and SAC EC, which is the executive committee. Executive committee is where all the secretaries reside, and they are the ones solving all the problems that relate to their purview. And SAC is the branch representatives, the hostel representatives, day scholar representatives, then PG representatives, and all representatives that help in the decision making of the entire student body. So whenever there's an issue, the SAC is the one that brainstorms and tells to the EC that such an issue is there. This is how we think it is should be done, and the SAC EC just executes it. So the decision making and all that comes from the SAC, and the execution part comes from the SAC executive committee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. So stuff like that is not very evident and it does not happen on our campus. So what the EC does is also makes decisions and also executes it. It's because it's an unwritten rule again, and that the performance of the SAC has not been pretty good last few years, and it has been a dormant stage, and sadly we did not do anything to improve it too. I think the current SAC is trying to improve that. That's pretty good. Uh, so what happens whenever there's an issue, we first approach the branch representative, and the branch representative presents it to the SAC. The SAC decides what a solution is, proposes it to the SAC Executive Council. The SAC Executive Council talks to the faculties and solves the issue. It's a very
So,
simple process. Yeah.
but still take time.
Yeah, it does not really take a time. It does not take a time, I guess. Because if you directly approach SAC EC, the issue gets solved very fast. But if you follow this process, it takes time. Yeah. You follow
Okay.
the actual process, it takes a lot of time.
Okay, we have a question in the chat box.
Yeah.
How was your experience as Institute's first General Secretary who had done his work completely online? Must be challenging.
Okay. What I feel is that online GenSec role was way more easier than offline, only because you don't have to go running and wait for faculties to be there in the rooms. So now you just have to write one mail and call them up. Before that, calling them up and mailing them was considered slightly ruder. But now, since everything is online, you have to call and you have to mail them. So process was really fast. And even if there's an issue, just write a mail, and that issue usually gets solved in like 3-4 hours. But if it was on campus, you need to go talk to the faculties. You need to make sure that they are there, and that delay is always there. And you have to walk a lot on campus because the campus is pretty big. So in that case, it was pretty easy. But regarding the issues, we had a complete set of new issues that were rising, that kept on arising as we progressed through the academics. Like initially, the problems were not visible. Through the course progresses, there are more issues that come. There are new issues that pop out because it's online, and we do not know how to tackle those issues because it's the first time we have seen those issues, and the previous side does not know anything about it. So it was really confusing. But yeah, it was fine because you just sit there and think for some time. You ask other people what to do, and you brainstorm, and then you usually come up with good solutions. So the process was easy, but the solution making was a little hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what protocols do SAC follow to address any solution?
Okay. See, we did not follow protocol last year because the actual protocol is to like go through the VR. The VR tries to solve it. If it does not, the SAC present is given to the SAC. SAC makes a decision, goes to SAC EC. SAC EC solves the problem. So this process is pretty long, and usually the BR level, a lot of students have tried, and they usually fail because of the faculties do not know the BRs, and faculties do not consider BR as a strong position. So whenever the BRs present an issue, the faculties just chuck it down. A lot of times it has happened. So now what we did was last year it was very open and anyone can approach the SAC EC directly. And whenever someone approaches the SAC EC just writes a mail or something and calls them up, and the issue gets solved easily. So that was way more faster, but it's not the right way to do it because it's less democratic and stuff. Yeah.
So, according to you, what are the main qualities that the GenSec and other EC members should have?
Wow. Okay. From what I've learned, the most important thing is patience. Okay, you will have a lot of people blaming you. You have a lot of issues that come to you, and you just have to sit there and you have to listen to them. They will come ranting to you. You should just listen to them. Make sure that they do not feel that their issue is dismissed, and you have to make sure that like everyone feels that the SAC is approachable and at least have a small hope that their issue can be solved through SAC. So patience is a huge importance. When you have a lot of issues coming up multiple times and you've explained it to a lot of people that this is how it is, there's still people who do not agree on it, and then they just come to you ranting about it. And there are chances that you might lose temper, but you shouldn't. That's the thing. You should have the patience to listen to it, accept it, and take the decisions further. So you should not lose patience. And the second other thing is that you should realize that every problem is equally important because you might feel some problem is not as important as the other problem, and some problem will be like very small. This affects one person, and the other problem affects a lot of people. So we should not just filter it out. One should not just filter it out. It should be like all problems are equally important because for you it might seem a simple problem, but for them it might be a huge problem. So when you have that, filtering it out and prioritizing should be done with a lot of care so that the small issues does not get dismissed while you're working on huge issues. So when you're working on the CGPA issue, there's a huge issue, and like most of the time was going on it. There were a lot of times where there were a lot of small issues that come, and we had to set apart a small time so that we solve all the small issues and they just do not pile up or get dismissed. So that is the other second thing. And third thing is like it's a huge quality. It's very hard to get. It's if you are born with it, you are born with it. I'm not. It's like convincing people. So if you can convince the faculties or if you can sweet talk your way through, it's a really good thing. It can help you win a lot of stuff like and you can convince administration easier that way. Yeah, sweet talking is a quality if you can. Yeah,
Okay, so patience is a key and sweet talking. Okay, and we have
and
a
yeah.
yeah, we have a question. Are there any issues that should be solved and you didn't due to pressure from college?
Okay, pressure from the college as in the administration or the students, because both exist.
It, you can tell
So,
both.
yeah, so the
Towards
one issue,
administration.
yeah, so one was that the starting of the Gender Affairs Council and the Gender Affairs Secretary and the Treasurer post. These two posts were supposed to happen. I think that was passed in this SAC, and not the Gender Affairs Secretary, but the Treasurer was passed in SAC, but did not was not passed in the Senate. So the Senate were like, it is not necessary and stuff. But then we did not pressurize it much because if we pressurized it at that time, the pressure from the CGP conversion would have reduced, and that would not have happened. So we had to keep pressure on one thing so that the other, and we had to dismiss this issue as secondary. So that did not happen. And maybe another issue is probably allowing people on campus and girls to use the guys' messes. That also we did not do it because again CGP conversion was happening, and there were little less people who were facing issues at that time, like who wanted to use the boys' messes at that time. So it was fine, but it's not the best way to go for it. That's what I say.
We have another question. What are your comments on online ragging and what all the things happen behind the scenes and so juniors didn't experience any ragging?
Yeah, and I think ragging was less because it's online, and when you send a text message and stuff, it's pretty evident. You can just screenshot it, and you can use it however you want. So that way, it was pretty less. But then there was again certain issues we know that happened on campus, and we had to talk to the students. And you know that ragging is a huge thing, and if one gets if one gets accused of ragging and if he's proven to be right, it's gonna affect his future a lot, his or her future a lot. So uh, we try to solve all these issues I mean, of administration or informal way, so that the trials do not happen and this future of the students is safe. So we talked a lot, and I think a lot of ragging issues were solved like that. But I think there is still ragging happening even after there was constant pressure from SAC saying that we released a couple of forms asking if the students felt anyone was ragged,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think no one filled the form. No one filled the form. The thing is that the students feel scared to fill the form regarding ragging, the seniors are talking and stuff. So yeah, it was not very successful that way. But through talking to students of higher years, we were about to solve a couple of issues, not a lot of issues, but we saw able to solve a couple of issues. So in that way, it's pretty good.
Okay, so do you think we have gender discrimination for posts in executive council?
Do you think of gender discrimination for posts? So again, I don't see. I do not know for sure because that's not gender discrimination per se. It is open for everyone, and anyone can usually. There's no unwritten rule for any post as well, except the joint secretary, which was supposed to be a female. But that is also this year did not happen. So there's no unwritten rule for genders in SAC EC. And the thing is that again there will be slight biasness that happens unknowingly within people. That just keeps on happening, and when that happens, there will be bias or maybe a discrimination that is introduced in the elections. And also, the guys are majority on campus. So because of that, yeah, there's a small chance that the female community might feel discriminated in elections. But on campus issues and from the administration, there is a lot of discrimination. There is ton of discrimination in everything, including studies, academics, the way faculties behave with children, and then curfew, messes. Yeah. So yeah, we have issues like that, but within the student community, the discrimination is quite less. That's what I feel. That's what I feel.
Okay, what do you think of having reservations in executive council for at least a few years? For example, reserving a post or two for girls to encourage them. Reserving a post for girls, basically.
Reserving a post for girls, I don't think it's necessary per se. Again, reserving a post in EC is not very democratic, and but unwritten rules do help a lot of underrepresented communities to, yeah, to represent themselves. And if the if everyone is doing the work properly, even that is not needed. But that usually happens less. And yeah, but I don't think there is a certain required for a reservation for a female post, because I think only 1 year we had issues regarding the females issues, like the issues of the girls not being represented properly. But all the other years, I felt that all the issues were taken up with equal seriousness, and you don't need a particular representation of a female candidate to help with those issues. That's what I felt. But if people think otherwise, I don't say that they're wrong. They might be right too, because if they feel that their issues not have been tackled properly, think
Yeah, that's
it's a
the reason.
necessary that they need a post too.
Yeah, that might be a reason
But
for
it's not very
reservation.
democratic to do it.
Uh, so, did the efforts by the previous year's SAC to change the 5% CGPA system help, or did you all have to start all over again with a new approach?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. The last year, I don't think they did a lot of work. At least that's what people told me. I'm not sure again. People told me they just went and they said they did a CGP conversion, and okay, Kumar sir was like, we'll present it to Senate. They presented to Senate. They were like, we won't do it. And the Sakis, he was like, okay. And they just left. That is what people have told me. I'm not sure how it went.
Okay.
So we didn't have a lot of data on how what all colleges doing it, how the colleges were approaching it, and how to convert an entire system to a new one. What are the pros and what are the cons, and all of that. We did not have data on it, and we had to work all of it again from scratch. We had to look on multiple data, send in meetings of other colleges to know how this CGP conversion thing happened in their universities, and then we had to evaluate the pros and the cons. And over time, the administration formed a council for themselves, and they also researched on it. With all of this research, only the CGP conversion actually happened. But yeah, from the previous SAG, I don't think there was any input that we could use for the CGP conversion. We had to start everything from scratch.
You had started all over again. So,
Yeah.
why was the Senate so reluctant to change the 5% 5% CGPA conversion? Why why is bringing a change so hard?
See, change is always very hard to be accepted by a lot of people, because first of all, you need to work to make the change happen. We need to convince a lot of people for the change. And basically, when you are comfortable in a position, you don't want to change from it. Okay, so because of all those issues, usually changes do not happen. And there was another issue saying that if we increase the 5% conversion, people will not be very people will not study because they got 5% more marks, so they will study less and stuff like that. I don't know if that is a I
Do
don't
you
know.
agree with
That's a
that? Like
pretty
people will
not
not.
great argument. And there was another thing saying that people there was a court case that happened long back, and because of the court case, if we change it our CGP conversion now, the court case becomes invalid. They can file more cases again, which was a stupid argument because the final decision is by the Senate. No matter whatever happens, how many other cases someone files, the final decision lies with the Senate, and no one can question it. So stuff like that. There were pretty petty arguments that was brought forth. Basically, the thing is that people do not like change, and it takes a lot of effort to change, and people are very lazy. So that was a major reason, I guess.
So bringing a change is like it is even difficult. Like, like for the upcoming SAC, it would be difficult. You think
Oh
so?
yeah, yeah, it's gonna be so. First major change will be to allow girls to eat in boys' messes because that is a urgent thing that needs to be done. And another change will be to have girls on campus. So that's a huge change. These two changes will be really, really hard to break. So compared to CGP conversion, this is gonna take a lot of effort because we have, yeah, kind of have sexism on campus by the administration, and people do not like girls on campus like that and all. It's kind of very not what do you call traditional. It's not very traditional to do it. So when you all have that, it's very hard to change their mindset. So changes like that will take a huge effort from the current SAC, and I hope that they can do it.
So this time there are various sources stressing the importance of elected representatives, but still 7 out of 10 posts were uncontested, and only 57% of general student body voted. What do you have to say about this?
Ah, okay. That was because like last year, since everything was online, everyone had a huge okay, maybe I think I should stand for easy because everything is online. I think I can reach out easily. I can reach out to the people. I can get people to vote for me and all. Yeah, it was little easier, but since online semester continued for a long time, people lost interest in college. They were just attending classes because of forced because they were forced, and people had not seen campus in a long time, and they had no hope on it too. So basically, they were, I don't know, mentally dead, and they were just lazy to just go stand for elections. They had lost interest in college basically. So when that happened, no one actually wanted to stand for elections. Everyone was just too lazy. Let it be what happens. No one cares about it. Kind of attitude started coming, and when that happened, a lot of posts just had no contests contestants. Yeah.
Okay, so like the voting percentage is also less, only 57%.
Yeah, which was, I think we had 75, I guess. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we had 75, 78. I don't remember how much it is. Yeah, around that last year because everything's online. It's pretty easy. Just click the Google form and done. But over time, people become lazy because it's online. No one cares about the college anymore. So no one just voted. That's what I feel. I'm not sure because there are a lot of variables. A lot of variables.
Or is it just because people lost interest in SAC? They stopped caring about what it was.
See, that is another topic. Yeah, that is
Okay.
possible too.
Okay. For what is the main reason for the existence of some unwritten rules? Is it because of the seniors trying to influence juniors every year?
So like the unwritten rules are like a certain posts are reserved for certain sections of the society of the students, and that was mainly because we had linguistic bias long before, and I think it still continues. And uh, because of that, there were happening a lot of fights, and this unwritten rule were brought to reduce that fights initially, and and we needed it, and we need it, and still, I think still we need it to some certain extent, because otherwise there will be again fights that happen, and there will be a certain power that is concentrated to certain section of society, and when that happens, a lot of issues are going to happen, or is going to continue to happen. So unwritten rules keeps that in check to some extent, not to a lot of extent, but it checks keeps in check for some extent, and it is a necessity. That is what I feel. But yeah, a lot of people do not agree to me. And
Yeah.
from what I've seen in college, and I've seen mingling with people from other communities, they find it a necessity to have an unwritten rule. Otherwise, they feel that their issues are not being represented on any level.
So
So
basically,
that's my personal opinion. Yeah,
so basically, you think unwritten rules are necessary.
that's my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Okay. So, we have a question. In recently concluded elections, a B20 stood for JS post. How do you feel about it? Do you think we are closer to
Oh,
breaking stereotypes and unwritten norms?
oh, I love the idea that a B20 and a B19, yeah, B19 stood for a post. So it is pretty good because our year only B17 stood for posts. And when you have that hierarchy, so unwritten rule is that fourth years only can contest in elections, which was broken this year because of, yeah. So it's pretty good, and you can see that the votes, there's pretty significant votes in other community, like in the other years as well, not just the fourth year. The fourth year had a huge amount of votes, but the others also got a certain number of votes, which is pretty good because people approved of this not
Yeah,
hierarchy
double
thing, and
stereotypes.
you don't need to be a fourth year to know what's happening in college, or to be well versed, or be equally strong in representing the society. So that hierarchy was broken, and yeah, kind of like that. So, and again, we had another post for PG in the Alumni Affairs Secretary. There was an unwritten rule that was brought again. The alumni should be from a PG person. So, yeah, again, representation increased, and the PG people feel more closer to college and not a separate section in college.
Like, do you think the B20 stood for JS post? That is because online education, like, we've never been to college, so
Yeah, that was major reason was for that, but I feel like that helped break the hierarchy barrier a bit. At least it put a dent on it. It still exists, it's gonna exist. But over time, I think we can break that wall as well. Because in all other colleges, if the bids go over bids Pilani, I think the EC members or the SAC members, like they have their own separate. They are from the second or third years, and the higher years are not involved in it. So yeah, over time maybe we can improve it.
over time, maybe all those unwritten norms
Yeah.
are broke. Can you name some of those unwritten rules?
Unwritten rules are that bachelors should okay. It's been all the posts are contested by the bachelors except the P RAS, Research Affairs Secretary, and then one girl candidate in the joint secretary place. Um, reserved linguistic communities for sports secretary, hostel secretary, and academics affairs secretary. And then fourth year should only contest in posts except tasks because that was conducted by third years. And it's stupid because TAS is not the one who's supposed to conduct Tatva. He can, but he's not the only one. And then any other unwritten rule? I don't think there's another unwritten. Yeah, these are the unwritten rules that exist.
So, does a highly efficient SAC along with the general student body have more power than the Senate? If not,
Oh yeah,
then
oh, yeah.
what explains
See,
that?
yeah, okay. So in theory, it does not have any power because Senate, whatever they decide is final, and they don't even need to listen to the students. To be honest, they don't need to listen to the students because yeah, they have the entire power. They can do whatever they want with it. But the thing is that if there is no student in approval of it, there's no point in making these rules. So when the faculty start feeling that the students are not in approval and they want to have a fight or they are completely against it and they are rallying against the movement that is made by Senate, they will be indirectly forced to listen to our issues and solve it. So that is what happened in CGPA because they were like, let's not do it every time. Let's just not make the CGP conversion happen. And that was the decision made by Senate, and they're pretty confident about it. But last year, when they saw all the student body gathered together, like the entire GSB rallying against it, so they had a slight pressure in them to work for it more, and that is why it happened. So issues like that, and maybe issue like the extension of LS curfew from 7 to 9 that happened 3 years back, 4 years back, and that was also due to student pressure. They don't need to do it, but again, when the pressure is so high and everyone is rallying against it, they have no option because otherwise the entire mass will become crazy. Stuff like that, yeah, is where the power actually comes from. Technically, we don't have a lot of power. The Senate has the final power, but through this, we can make a lot of difference.
Yeah, so actually, there's a question like what you told about what you told earlier about female reservation. So you told a few minutes back female reservation is not needed as a female representative is not needed to raise their issues. Does this sound ironic to your support for the unwritten rules?
Yes, I'm saying that because only except 1 year, we had like all the issues of the female candidates or the yeah, female students being represented properly. It was usually represented properly, and there was no issues with it. I think only 1 year there was like maybe not represented very well, but otherwise it was always represented very well. So if the students feel like their issues are not being represented well, or the girls' issues are not represented that well, yeah, for them I think the need for unwritten rules is necessary. Otherwise, if the issues are being equally represented, there is no need for an unwritten rule for them. It only happens when there is a bias from the SAC EC side or the SAC side without any post in SAC that these communities are minority, their issues are not that important. If that happens, only then unwritten rules are necessary.
Okay, and what's your opinion on curfew in girls' hostel? Do you think it's reasonable?
Yeah, I don't think that's reasonable at all. So it's just my personal opinion. Um, what happened was there were a lot of surveys taken, and there were a lot of times that the girls themselves were fine with curfew. They wanted the curfew to be there, and the number was quite a majority. And because of that, it was a huge issue. And there was not a lot of pressure from the student side to increase the curfew. But the thing is that it is not reasonable at all because the girls are entitled of all the facilities on campus. They're entitled of the freedom. They need to go out. They need to do whatever they want. But
Times have
there's a
changed.
small point. Yeah, the small point from the administration side is that they are responsible over the students, and girls are more vulnerable group of people because they're targeted more on any criminal activities. Usually they are, and because of that, anything that happens affects the administration because they're responsible for the students and the image of the college and the uh, like the girl students' parents also prefer uh, to not let them go out outside in the night. So the girls' parents are also not really with the idea of girls being free and allowed to move out of campus and all. So because of all of that, it has been a huge issue for the extension of curfew. But I feel that that should be removed because if I'm able to use the lab facilities and campus facilities in the night to work, then the girls should be also like to do it because they have their equal entitlement. They're paying for the same thing, and they should be able to use the facilities as well. I think it's important for them academically as well.
Yes. So now that we have a question. Like now that we had a talk about female reservation, doesn't a reserving post for B20s, B90s help in future? Like having unwritten rule of B18s for posts. So
No,
reservations for B20s and
see,
B.
unwritten rules only happens is necessity when you feel that the representation is not proper. So, and unwritten rules are not democratic at all. It should be avoided at maximum cost. But if you feel like your issues are not being raised and is not being properly conveyed, and it's always the fourth year's issues that has always been conveyed by the fourth years, then I feel that unwritten rule might help. So, like mitigate all that issues. But unwritten rule is not a good thing to do. It's not democratic at all. So
Yeah.
avoid it at all costs. That is what I would say.
So do you think that the reserving posts for B20s and B18s doesn't help much?
Yeah, it does not help. If the issues are being tackled properly, then I don't think it's necessary. I hope that in our EC all the issues were equally tackled and that you did not feel the necessity for a B20 reservation or something like that.
Okay, so is Ashis Toby before being a Gen Z different from Ashis Toby now? What all changes do you think has happened to you?
Um, I became more extrovert. I met a lot of people. I know faculties now, and I talked to a lot of faculties. They're pretty friendly now. And I came to know what the college is because before that I was too ignorant on a lot of issues. Now I'm not ignorant to a lot of issues. Then yeah, I can talk better more freely, and I can know what the people think, how the student wants, what the student requires, and stuff like that. And maybe hmm, yeah, it helped me get a higher studies because Gen Sec is pretty good thing. uh, Otherwise, as a person, I became more open. That's what I say. Everyone's issue is important. I became more open. I started understanding stuff and not dismissing something as stupid because I just felt it stupid.
Uh, so finally, what advice would you like to give to the upcoming Gen 6 and all members of SAC?
Yeah, so always be patient because everyone's gonna get a lot of blame. You will get blamed a lot of times for not working properly, and you will get blamed even if you work properly. You'll get blamed, and then you have all that frustration comes up, and you just need to work through it. Be patient, and still have that motivation to work on. and not get depressed. And then including the gender secret student body, which we could not, in a more active and dynamic student community, so that the entire student community can benefit from it. If that is possible, amazing. And then do not dismiss issues and take up issues. If someone approaches you, take an issue with utmost priority. Do not let them go through SAC or a huge long process to come to you and solve it. Just whenever someone comes an issue, just solve it. Because SAC is majorly about solving small issues and not solving about huge issues. The main purpose is to solve someone's small issues and not the huge issues like Alex curfew. It's all there, but it's always second priority when compared to small issues that students face.
Okay, so let's wait. If if
Again, this
any
is
of
all my idea. Yeah.
okay, we are really grateful to have you here. So, if any of the participants have questions, you can ask.
And to add to the last question, like, what is your have you seen the results for the new SAC, and what is your opinions on that?
It's very interesting. Yeah, I'm not gonna comment on it because it's people's choice. I'm not gonna say anything about it because my opinions are my own, and people have their own opinions. So I'm not gonna say anything about it. And if I say something, it will not be right too, because it's just there's no right and wrong in this. So yeah,
Understandable. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Thank you so much for enlightening us about SAC, and thank you guys for being polite, uh, patient, and wonderful crowd, like audience. And also, Ashish bro, good luck for your future endeavors.
thank you.
Yeah, I haven't met you, but yeah, good luck.
Yeah, sure. And yet you're here to talk to see me talk, Sanath. So you tell me, do you have a life?
Sorry.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah,
Right.
you're here to hear me talk every time. So you tell me.
See, me taking my time shows how much care I have for you. But
Yeah,
just
I know.
suppose you're already out of college. You know, you don't have to do this.
Yeah, I'm an alumni. Okay, alumni has responsibilities over their juniors.
Uh,
Otherwise, people like you will lose their way.
oh, wow.
Yeah,
It became like
I
that
know.
now. Anyways, thanks, Toby. Coming.
Sure, man.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome too.